This is Teen. I'm thrilled today to bring you an informative conversation about Island Flower Growers, an emerging flower hub based outside of Victoria, British Columbia, on Vancouver Island in Canada. If you caught episode 611 a few weeks ago, you met Julie Remy of Fleuris Studio and Blooms, a farmer-florist on Vancouver Island. We had a wonderful conversation, and we briefly discussed the Island Flower Growers Cooperative, which is one of her primary outlets for selling flowers wholesale. I visited the island in early May when I interviewed Julie, and before I returned home, I stopped by the Metchosin Farmers Institute, a multi-use venue where I met the cooperative member farmers. I was lucky to meet most of the growers on an early Wednesday morning, the regular day when flower farmers bring their harvest to this central hub where flowers are then sorted and organized for client deliveries or client pickup. That's where I met Lorna Jackson, co-founder and president of Island Flower Growers, and Cara Scott, the market manager, among many other talented and passionate island flower growers. I was thrilled to watch the buzzing of energy and the synergy of the morning as flower farmers compared their seasonal crops with one another, discussed planting plans, and admired the collection of blooms ordered by area florists. I took some photos and shot a little video, which you'll see at the end of today's conversation. The Island Flower Growers is a producer-owned cooperative of cut flower growers on Vancouver Island and the Gulf Islands of British Columbia, Canada. So let's jump right in and meet Lorna Jackson and Cara Scott. This conversation was recorded in our virtual studio on May 26th, and I will share our sponsor thank yous after the interview. Well, hello, everybody. I'm so excited today to have two guests, and I met them both in person when I was in Victoria area on Vancouver Island, British Columbia, about early May. And so I knew I wanted to record a full interview. So please welcome Cara Scott. She's the market manager of Island Flower Growers and also a floral designer and owner of Hermit and Camellia. Hi, Cara.
Hello.
Thanks for joining me. And then I'm thrilled to introduce and welcome Lorna Jackson. And Lorna, hi, how are you?
Awesome.
Oh, you are awesome. I'm so glad we finally got to meet in person. We did a Instagram live a couple years ago, but Lorna is the one of the founding members and co-owners and president of Island Flower Growers. So, and you have a flower farm, which I believe is called Nine Bar, correct?
That's right. That's
Yay.
Right.
All right. So we're here to talk about growing flowers, local flowers on an island, which some might say means you have a finite quantity of places to grow and finite quantity of customers, but I could be completely wrong. So let's jump right in, Cara, and you can give us maybe a snapshot of Island Flower Growers, and then we'll pull Lorna in on to anchor us in the origin story.
Sure. Yeah. So Island Flower Growers offers unique and specialty high quality blooms to clients on all over Vancouver Island. And we've got growers right now from Duncan South. So that includes Cobble Hill, Metchosin, Colwood, Souk, North Saanich. I hope I didn't miss anyone.
Most of our listeners and viewers are going to have to look at a map to follow you, so that's okay.
This is sure.
Yeah.
So I think we've got about 40 clients right now, and that increases as wedding and event season gets going here on the island, which it is now. We offer an online market Mondays, starts at 4 p.m. Our clients log in and shop from all of the products that our growers have grown and uploaded onto the Open Food Network. And then we close the shop Tuesday mornings, and the growers get a list of all the orders for the clients, and away they go. We meet Wednesday mornings to review the product, checking obviously for quality and distributing it to the different orders. We double check the orders, and then we send it out for delivery. And we also have some clients that come to pick up. They love to see everyone's orders, to see the items in person, just to sort of scout and plan for upcoming events. And it's a lot of fun. It's a great community. Really happy to be a part of it.
Well, that's where I came to I invited myself and you and Lorna and made it possible for me to just stop by and watch all the action early morning on a Wednesday when you did the sorting hub distribution and pulled orders. And I loved how it worked. So the farmers deliver the product. Lorna, jump in here because you're one of them. You deliver the product. Like, at what time does that happen? Really early on Wednesday?
So I leave where I am at about 7:15 to
Okay.
get to our sorting hub at the Luxton Farmers Institute down the road from me. Others have to leave even earlier because they're a little bit further away. Cara, for example, is about an hour away. And the process kind of starts the day before, where we wrap and label all of our products. So I may have orders that are going to, this week, 10 different florists. So to make it quick and efficient, when I get to Luxton, they're all labeled, and then I start putting them into the buckets that we filled with clean water. There's a label for each florist and an area to put the product into their buckets, and we're all doing that. So we're busy little bees and trying to do it as efficiently, as quickly as possible, so that when Cara arrives at about 8:30, she's able to hit the ground running and start doing the quality check and the order check, in anticipation of our delivery driver, who then comes at around 9:30. Yeah.
And Vancouver Island is a big island, and it seems like most of the population is in the southern portion. Am I correct? Or like, what's your reach in terms of how far do these deliveries go?
Well, we can talk about our origin story as well a little bit, because we've had to. So we began. Let's go back a little bit. We started planning in 2019. A bunch of growers who were growing wholesale, selling wholesale in mostly in the Victoria area. Many of us had the same clients, but we hadn't met. We were kind of doing it independently and blindly in some cases, like myself. We got together, had a meeting, decided there had to be a better way, and that we wanted to finally come together and collaborate. Got a grant for a consultant from the Ministry of Agriculture to walk us through the different possibilities for what that might look like. And then, long story short, I mean, it's such a long story and it goes down many different tangents.
We have time.
2020, we had the plan in place we incorporated as a cooperative after looking at the other models and options. I should say that our consultant, Joy Emanuel, is a co-op expert, so she was great to have. So we incorporated January 2020. We had the plan in place. We interviewed the manager who we wanted, who was Cara. We knew we wanted her, and it was just a matter of seducing her into our fold. And I was remembering this morning that interview meeting at one of our members' farms, Cartref Gardens. I said at the end of the meeting, it might be that we're not able to hold an in-person market because there's this disease out there. And I looked around the table and nobody really understood what I was talking about. And so sure enough, we had our venue set up, we had our systems set up, we had our manager hired, and then COVID disrupted everything for everyone. We were in lockdown, and so many of our clients who we'd done a little bit of a feasibility study with Joy in the fall and the early 2020, and so we had some idea that we would be successful. We had some expectation that there was a market for what we were doing. We surveyed clients, all the rest of it. So COVID disrupted all of that, especially for our clients who many of them had to close their shops or there were no events. We know what happened, right?
Right. What horrible timing.
It was just, well, in a way, I mean, it was terrible timing.
Yeah.
And yet it allowed us to slow down, sort out some issues, really become even more focused on who we were, what we wanted to do, how we wanted to do it, figure out some of the systems that were mind-boggling. Our bookkeeping, all the rest of it. So we had a venue set up that we were hoping people would come and pick up, and a la the Seattle Cooperative, do a little shop the floor. So that fell by the wayside. And in fact, when we were finally able to have in person, it turned out that they were not zoned for retail. So we weren't even able to do that. And it was
that original location.
that's right.
Yeah.
It was in the middle of Victoria, very cost effective for the co-op, no real risk to us, but it fell apart. So we ended up that first season sorting in school parking lots because the schools were closed.
Wow.
Delivering, all members were delivering to our clients, and it was the no contact delivery. So that's where we came from. And then the Luxon Fairground came up last year, and it's just been a real blessing for us to be able to come together, to be efficient, to have the kind of venue that you visited that has water outside, that has parking that for members and growers, that has a washroom, all of that, and is cost effective because we still, thanks to COVID, didn't have a real clear sense of supply and demand.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. The place is like kind of rustic and rural, but agricultural, and that's what farmers need. The covered area keeps everything protected. You guys you're scrappy.
We are.
And that's what you have to do to pull this off.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting because, I like your comment about slowing down, and I think you can't get it all perfect the first year, but that imposed kind of calendar sort of pause, it was a positive, it sounds like. And now you're probably really confident in like your systems and what I'm trying to elevate you here, Lorna.
Yeah, good.
Well,
you're right. We've worked really hard, and Cara can talk about this too. Every year brings new challenges. Using an online platform that we chose it, the Open Food Network, because it's open source, it's international. The woman who was onboarding us is a flower farmer in Ontario, so she was Teresa Shumalis, is familiar with the sector, but it's hard, and it's hard to bring so many. Our founding members are all different. We live in different places. We farm on different soil. We have different home environments and challenges, and we're trying to kind of fit ourselves together as a team with Cara's genius help. But none of us are familiar with these systems, right? And this piece that I keep coming back to of not knowing supply and demand, in part because of COVID, yes, but also because nobody had done small farm wholesale really to the extent that we're doing in our region.
You had models from other parts of North America, but you had to train florists that this was going to benefit them.
Yeah, and you can imagine what it was like to be a florist at that time when they were trying to manage the bottom line, the fear of, will my business even survive?
Right.
And so it's been a huge learning curve. Would you agree with that, Cara?
It has. It's been incredible. And you mentioned Joy helping the co-op get established, but she's also come back at the end of each season to review with the members and employees about their experiences and help sculpt a new, a plan for the next season, which is incredibly valuable to have that outside influence, gathering that detailed information and presenting it back to us in a way that the membership can make decisions about the future. That's been vital, I'd say.
Well, so Cara, I have a couple questions for you about just your involvement. You said you have about 40 floral design customers who shop at different levels and different times of the year for Island Flower Growers. You're a client yourself. So had you been a client of Lorna's, or like, how did they, it sounds like you were on their wish list as who the manager was going to be, but how did you engage and get to know the founding members?
Sure. So I had the privilege of working with Verbena Floral Design, who was a premier wedding and events florist at the time, retired now, but at the time was looking for the contemporary and interesting and unique items that small growers, cultivate with their hearts and their hands, to bring that vitality, that specialness to their events. And that was how I met Lorna, through working with her products, with this designer. And so uh, I was just remembering this, Lorna. I was at the Metchosin Farmers Market one weekend, and my partner and Sarah and I got there, and we sort of, looked around, taking it all in, and across the circle, I saw sweet peas, and I don't think I said anything. I just headed straight for them, and I didn't introduce myself. I don't know who was selling them for you. I just said, "Are those Lorna's?" And she laughed and said, "Yes." I said, "Great, I'll take these." And then I think the next month I was ordering flowers from Lorna for my sister-in-law's wedding. And so continued the relationship from there. And I seek out Lorna's flowers as well as the other member growers in the co-op. And now as well, some of our guest growers, you really see them coming into their own, because there is a vitality still, a life force to those blooms, that foliage, as well as uniqueness. But the quality is so different to me. I have previous wholesale experience, and a lot of it was handling imports. And I saw the implications of that firsthand. My skin would react a lot to the chemicals that I handled. I'm still, I think, navigating some of the health outcomes from that.
Wow.
And just the flowers didn't have that special thing that speaks to the cells in your body. It was missing. But when I worked with the growers here on the island, I felt it. It
Wow.
felt life force. So
Yeah.
That's my hook in with these guys, really.
That's affirming. And it sounds like with your customer base growing, other florists are recognizing this as well. It's just that it needed to be somewhat convenient, I would imagine. I mean, this driving around business to 5 different farms does not appeal to a wedding and event florist, right, Lorna? I mean, you probably had that. That's probably what happened before you started the co-op.
Yeah, and that was part of our founding and guiding principles, was this has to be more streamlined for clients, especially. We would all be serving a client coming down from Nanaimo, which is about Cara, 2 hours drive from here, and she would be coming to a lovely florist, beautiful event in her little car, and she'd be hitting all those areas that Cara mentioned that people have now looked at their map, of course, to find. But that's another 2 hours for her to hit all of our places. And she would have been online with us. We would have been communicating through email, all this time and effort. And by the time she got to me, her car was full, and we had to really figure out how to put all this foliage in her car. And this poor woman was exhausted and had quite a challenging drive on the way back. So that's just one example. But so for clients, there was a lot of back and forth, a lot of time spent, and a lot of uncertainty. And then for growers, it was any minute you're not spending fertilizing or watering or sowing or amending, any moment you're spending on email with a designer or a florist, it's not spent on your farm.
Yeah.
And so you can't be producing the quality that you really want to produce. So the founding principle was streamlining the ordering process, making it as easy as possible to try to get us all to work together, share all the clients that we've had in the past in service of their businesses, right? Making delivery an option, making it in keeping price-wise with the other wholesalers in the area. And we have great wholesalers, don't get us wrong.
Yeah.
But to try to streamline things for both grower and client was really important. And that's a work in progress because we've tried pre-booking system that, because of this question about supply and demand, not only did it really stretch Cara, I mean, she was doing some weeks double the hours she was getting paid for. Who knew? We didn't know. But it was also really hard on growers because we didn't know how much we needed to grow, because we didn't know how many clients would be interested in our product and really wanting a weekly order. So it was really tricky. The pre-booking did not work for us.
So is pre-booking the same as pre-ordering, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
So how does it work now? You said something about orders are placed on Mondays. Maybe Carol, you can walk me through the week. Like, what do you ask? When do the farmers engage for the coming week in terms of what, putting their availability up on this open source platform?
Yeah, so on a Sunday, by Sunday at 1 o'clock, they update just a Google spreadsheet that tells me what they've got coming. So the name, the quantity, and the stem length, and any notes if something is, perhaps they've got an allium that has a huge diameter, if there's
Yeah.
something special I need to know. Um, and then by Monday morning, I've got a price list out to them so that they can fully upload the information. So that's stem length, stems per bunch, the name, like an updated photo, something that is that bloom that week.
Like this moment is what it
Yeah,
looks like. Yeah.
yes,
Wow. But
exactly.
they can just do that on their phone, right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. And then I feel like I'm missing a step in there, but um, and then Lorna goes through and is actually doing editing and making sure that we're all consistent with our entries, that we're accurate. One farm has the right price as with the other farm, and so on. And then our clients shop at 4 p.m. In the meantime, our
Wow.
communications manager, Lily, has sent out an email alerting our clients about which items we're going to have in the shop. And we indicate any of those items that we're going to have 6 bunches or more. So for those
Oh,
clients that might be shopping for volume, whether that's for events or high bouquet production, they're a weekly shop kind of thing. They have a sense of, okay, I can hone in on these white um, these white Orlea or these foxglove and so on, because there's high volume bunches there. That's what I'm going to need for my event or my weekly bouquets.
so it is pre-order, but of in that week, not like Lorna, you were talking about somebody wanting like a projection a month out or something.
Yeah.
We tried that because all the other wholesalers do it, and we had 3 or 4. This is when 2021, Kara, I think, when weddings were coming back and
Yeah.
everyone was trying to hit the ground running with their orders, and we had a few high volume wedding florists who really wanted to get their orders. They wanted to support us. Let's
Yeah.
start with that. They
Yeah.
really wanted to shop with us, wanted to support us, and yet we couldn't guarantee that we would have the product that they would need. And so they needed to be ordering things from the other wholesalers who were bringing in product from California and South America and the lower mainland of British Columbia. So we tried to do was it 2 weeks in advance sheet, and Cara was doing all the back and forth with maybe 3 or 4 florists. But we found, especially with climate and because we still hadn't nailed down supply and demand as farmers, we just couldn't predict what we would have. And there was a lot more work for the grower to be going out and checking. And the stress was with a new business, it was too much. We really wanted to provide everything we said we could. And then we would just lose it when the roses had flushed and we couldn't provide them or all of that.
A lot
For
of tears.
Too many
Yeah.
tears. And so Cara was doing double the amount of work that she was contracted to do. So it was a trial trying to play like the big guys play. And we hope in the future that we'll have some system once we understand numbers better and what our capacities are. We were selling out at that time virtually every week and sometimes within half an hour.
Oh my gosh.
And we were moving a lot of product, but until we were able to sort out our supply to have enough for clients to buy and to serve, part of the co-op ethos is to be fair and everyone's the same. All our clients get the same service. And so until we can do that and allow them to pre-order 2 weeks in advance, we just can't do it. So it is, it's not the best for a busy florist, but we've been so fortunate to have those who were along for the ride and doing what they can to help us.
That's really a great example to share because it is about community, and the community is not just the growers, it's the the florists who want you to succeed. So it sounds like they're in general, Cara, is it true that in general they're pretty much going to go along with this and say, yeah, it's not what we, perfect, but we're going to work with this model of ordering on Sunday nights or Mondays.
Yeah. In speaking with our clients, they've all expressed, okay, we get it. This is what we're working with. And I know that when I'm planning for this week or this event or series of events, I'm going to set aside X amount of dollars. I know that what my color palettes are, and I'm honing in on those things. So they've found ways to help to make it work for them too. And that is that point of community, right? Where a system or systems can be in service to the clients, in service to the membership, and in service to the employees, and in service to the co-op itself, because if the co-op is healthy, that means the membership is healthy, and then the clients, and so on. So
I got it. Yeah. And also you're talking about an aesthetic, which sounds like is palette driven, seasonally driven, and what's best that week. And everybody should be happy. You don't have to have some particular unique cultivar that you saw on a Pinterest board. You can be flexible. I mean, in most cases.
Yes. Yeah.
We hope.
And I think that's a great attitude that the florists have. And we are very fortunate here. There are people passionate about growing, and a number of different floral designers or florists, whichever term they prefer, that some have shops, some are home-based, farmer-florists as well that are shopping from us. It's a great range of clients and growers. We're really lucky.
Well, you talked about being a founding member, Lorna. How many founding members are there? And then can you talk about the guest grower? Like, what's the population of people participating in growing and selling?
So when Joy first started consulting for us, when we were looking at these different models, she visited all the farms of those who thought they would be founding members and assessed whether it was a good fit for each of them. We lost one because they already had, on Salt Spring, they already had a great sales channel in place that it would have added to their burden to actually join a co-op in Victoria. So that was smart. So that left us with 4 founding members who did the incorporation and came up with the rules of association and did all of the things that you have to do to be a cooperative. And then your friend Julie, Remy, came on board. And we started the season with, I think 5.
Okay.
That's 2020. We have lost a couple. We've tried a couple, and they've found that the journey down island didn't work. We had assumed that everybody would want to come down and be with us, and it just isn't always a great fit for their life situations or their whatever. And so we've taken on a couple more members, although Joy, our consultant, was very helpful in that, just cautioning us about going too big too quickly. You can get yourself with members pay a share price to be a member, a co-owner, and it can get tricky when that's your investment and these people decide that it's not a good fit and you have to repay that investment to them. You can, with the small margins, when the co-op is being run on commissions, that can get you into trouble. Who knew that? We didn't. Thank goodness Joy did. So she's been cautious about keeping us gradual and small. And so, because, as I mentioned, this problem of not having enough product from our members, we brought on, and I think we got this idea from the Seattle Co-op. They didn't call them guest growers.
They call them provisional, I think.
Something like that. So we tried to play with the language a little bit there.
I like guests. That sounds very friendly.
Well, we try to make them feel special because they really are. They really are. And yet, we've tried many of those people as well. And once again, children, life circumstances, not having enough product. Sometimes the product doesn't meet our standards because they haven't been in wholesale long enough. And it's also intimidating to be not, they're not right to be intimidated, but they are, thinking that we've been at it for so long, we know everything, but really we don't. And we learn each week. So this season we've brought on, we tried a different system with recruiting and integrating guest growers into our system. And so far, we're super happy with who we have on board. We've been really careful to make sure they're a good fit, both
Yeah.
what they're growing, what they're growing, how they're growing it, and also how they would fit with our ragtag group of weirdos that meet on Wednesday morning. But that is the place where all of us as members learn, and Cara helps us with that, looking at each other's quality, comparing our growing to each other's. We all grow in different circumstances. We have a lot to learn. And having Cara help us with standards and stem length and quality and what the industry standard is, what our clients expect. We had no idea because we were all so isolated.
Yeah.
We knew of each other, but we weren't in touch. And then also pricing, just having the help of, as a grower, not having to even think about pricing because Cara's looking after that for us.
Cara,
so guest growers, I hope, are learning from that.
Yeah. Oh, one follow-up question before I go on to Cara. Is it the intent that over time a guest grower could become a member, or does it? Yes. Is it okay? So it's an option.
Yeah. In the past, we've been a little too quick with that. Quick for them, quick for us. We need a longer sort of on ramp to assess whether they can handle the pressure. And whether we're a good fit for each other. Right?
It's a business. It's not a social club. I totally agree. Yeah. I was on the board of the Seattle Wholesale Growers Market for 2 years. So I don't know if they're doing it currently, but at the time, about 6 or 7 years ago, they had 2 board positions for non-growers. Like usually it was a florist. They were usually florists. But anyway, I learned a lot, and I have a huge appreciation for how to run a co-op.
The co-op does have one position similar, and that's clearly where I got that idea. We have a florist on our as an advisor on our board.
Good. Oh, interesting. Yeah. The pricing thing is interesting. I would love to have a little bit of comment on that, Cara. And then something I learned when I did have Julie Remy of Fleuris Studio and Blooms on the podcast a few weeks ago is she made some comment that she was bunching everything in 5-stem bunches because that allowed people with smaller businesses to afford a variety. I don't know if that's exactly why, but maybe you could talk a little bit about that. I thought that was a really interesting. I needed some roses the other day at the growers market, and there was a 24 stem bunch, and I was like, I can't use all these. Yeah. This is wasteful, but I liked that idea, and I just would love to hear more about that.
Yeah, that's a great example. The example that you give, Deborah, because we do have some of those, independent floral designers working from their homes. A lot of them have jobs. They're in love with flowers, and they're exploring that passion. And to have a 24 stem bunch means they can't try that and experience that. Whereas if we aim to keep the bunches around 5, and of course there are exceptions to that, sweet peas, for example, they're 10. The little guys, the grasses, we bunch those up. But it really does allow the designer to play, to try a mix of focal and texture and foliage and accompaniment, and just to have some fun. And I've seen the benefit in their designs from that opportunity. So we do aim to keep the 5, and I know, it would be easier and faster for the growers, for sure. I acknowledge, just to do a 10 or a 20 or a 24 bunch, but it needs to be in service to both. So we walk that line with it.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah. And in terms of the pricing, that is one of those great big challenges for me every week. I follow Seattle flower growers and look to their lead quite a bit. As well, we have other conventional wholesalers on the island, and we have the flower auction in Burnaby. So those are all considerations in pricing.
You have all these inputs coming in from different scales and conventional and sustainable practices too.
We do, and of course the information from the growers themselves about what they are putting, what is their costing when they review their crops and so on. So trying to factor all of that in and make sure it's accessible to our clients as well it's the one part of my job that probably hurts a bit, my brain and my heart. And I'm thinking to some of the product that I was working with this week, like, Lorna's yellow beech stock is incredible in height, scent, form. It's great. It's perfect. I love a higher price on that, but I've got to keep it accessible. I want her to be rewarded, or the very unique things that these growers go to great lengths to source, to have that special something that elevates a client's design. I want to reward them for that. And then sometimes just the market factors limit that. So it's a challenge. But the feedback that I get from our growers is thank you, because it is such a burden for them, standing in their field harvesting 10 stems of something for a client, and they're asking how much it is. Just to remove all of that extra brain space it's taking up.
You're their agent. You're their agent. You're brokering all of this, so they don't have to.
Yeah.
That's really helpful. Before we wrap up, I could go on and on, but I just want to be mindful of the time. I do have I think I shot a little video when I was visiting you. I will add that at the end. And also I'll share all the goodies that you sent me, but that's kind of what I want to end with. Lorna and Cara, the non-flower events that you do, the workshops and the sales that are open to the public. Can you talk a little bit about that and why how many have you had and why you've added those, and what's the response been from the general public? I'm just fascinated that you're doing some fun events in that way.
Well, there's a lot of reasons to be doing them. Primarily, education is part of what a co-op has to do. And so helping our communities, our florists, the general public understand the benefits of sustainable flowers, opening the conversations and having opportunities to do that. But also as a co-op, we work so hard and come together only once a week, during the season. It just flies by. And in order for us to understand one another and appreciate each other apart from the work we're doing together is super important to me. I think we need social events that have a theme, if you want. So we did a thrips workshop with someone from the Ministry of Agriculture out here on my roses after the season had ended. And not only did it bring us together, learning together, Cara was there as well. It built the connection with the ministry as well.
Yeah,
a young woman
so smart.
Emily Carmichael, who was fantastic. Yeah. She came to our first annual Dahlia and Plant Sale, which was a couple of weeks ago. She showed up in the spirit of support and checking in on us. So that connection was made, and she would send us links to possible grants and so on, and visited our farms.
And this is someone from the Ministry of Agriculture, did you say?
Yeah.
For the province, or
that's right, the BC Ministry of Agriculture.
Okay, wow, that you're like, the dream organization that they want to affiliate with.
Yeah. Well, she also liked that we were starting to do enterprise budgets and trying to be agricultural workers, rather than just flower growers. And so last year, in the spirit of community and coming together, we asked a local lino cut artist to meet in Julie's beautiful studio that you visited. And we got together, Cara was there as well, and did a lino cut workshop together with another florist, which it was purposeful. We were making designs that we could then use in our businesses, but it was just pleasant, pleasant. And so COVID made it difficult for all of those events to happen in person. So we've done our best to do things online, a little bit of grant money here and there we did a roundtable with Cara and one of our Natalia Solis of Apothecary Blooms, did a roundtable discussion on selling wholesale, grading wholesale. And we invited every grower that we could think of in the area just to log on and be part of that conversation. So we're constantly trying to reach out to the even smaller growers to maybe they don't think they're growing enough to be part of the co-op, but we want them in our community, and we want them to feel that we understand who they are, what they're doing, and that we can help in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it benefits everyone because you're sharing best practices. So then that reaches the customer who then understands the value of local flowers, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Like, yeah.
Do you have people, Cara, asking if they can, like members of the public, if they can come shop, or are you trying to like cut that off and not open that door?
Yeah, we certainly have had a little bit of that. I think Lorna is exploring some options here with the membership for kind of similar to Seattle in that late in the week, once the florists have had their opportunity to shop, then there's another opportunity, and a virtual opportunity for shopping as well. So just experimenting with that right now because there is the demand. And at that dahlia and plant sale, I was so delighted to not just see folks that were growers in the community there to support, but some of our clients and some of our clients showing up, wanting to meet the people that were growing like that's our dream, is to get all
This
that
ripple
information
effect.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah. To help educate everyone. So that was a real delight. Yeah. Hopefully some more opportunities like that will come about.
I think that Dahlia and plant sale was right after I saw you, because Lorna, we had just a brief conversation about your thinking about why are you selling potted dahlias, and is that something you want to share about? I thought that was really fascinating.
Sure. Well, I mean, there's been a burgeoning of flower farmers selling dahlia tubers, and with that has come the sense that we may be getting ourselves into a little bit of trouble with viruses and gall, and there's this anxiety, I think, among growers and backyard growers that they may be importing or using infected tubers. And there have been some great resources about that and education about that. So we just thought we didn't want to compete with people who had already set up tuber sales as part of their business model, but we felt that we could offer potted plants that were in leaf so that they were guaranteed to grow. And
they rooted, they produced a stem.
That's it.
Yeah,
and the stem looks good, right? There's no gall, there's no leafy gall, there's no crown gall. And so we just wanted to try that as a way, again, of educating. We had actually a poster up to identify the difference between crown gall and leafy gall.
Wow.
Just, again, the mandate of education and helping people to understand how to grow better, all people, and how to appreciate the beauty of flowers was the intention there as well. And yeah, that's.
And so how was it? Did you sell out, or did you think we'll do this again? Or is it jury's still out on that?
The dust is still settling. We were very happy, and we were very happy with who we got to talk to, how our sales went. They were great. We still have some left, but I had done a ridiculous amount of dividing in the fall. I had a good dahlia season, and for some reason, I just went nuts.
I love it.
And divided everything and stored everything, and my storing went well, which isn't always the case. So some of us had a lot to share, and it was just great.
That's
great.
great.
It was a lot of work, but it also brought us out to a farm, Hidden Track Farm, Erica's farm, out in North Saanich, which is just down the road from another member's farm. Most of us hadn't been out there to visit with them. So it was building solidarity within the co-op community, sharing the burden of hosting events, and just making us stronger as a group as we understand each other's lives in person rather than just at the market, thinking, oh, my mint doesn't look anything like Julie's mint. What a failure I am, right?
Yeah.
So it's just really important, I think, for people who are doing co-op work and collaborative selling models, that they look for these opportunities that even if ours was successful, but if they're not, you're still eating together, chatting together, laughing together, learning together.
Yeah, I love it. That's such a good point. You sent some resources to me. Can I share those in the show notes? The Rose handout. So, can you talk about that briefly?
So again, we've been trying to work on this education piece, and none of us, I was an educator, but the rest of us haven't been, but just trying to figure out how to support all growers in our area, especially our guest growers. So there was a big push, for example, on growing better roses. In our initial outreach to florists, there were concerns in 2019 about the quality of small farmers. They were supporting small farmers, but occasionally they were worried about the garden rose, for example,
Right.
because they were familiar with greenhouse grown roses. Ours were different. They offer something more beautiful sometimes and all the rest of it. But
we know all the reasons, yeah. But they are shorter lived. Is that
they
what,
are shorter lived? But we wanted to make sure that we were doing everything we could as growers to have the best product. It's a big investment, as you know, to plant roses. So we came up, three of us who had some experience growing roses, put a rose document together, how to grow roses where we are, because there was no other resources.
Wow.
How do you grow roses in Victoria or Saanich? So it's not, we wanted it to look great. The content is we'll revise it every year because we learn something every year. We do a lot of integrated pest management to battle thrips and aphids and so on. So we wanted that to be again, we were testing it. It was an experiment. How good can we get at these kind of documents and share them with other growers?
Well, I read through it and I thought that, wow, this is invaluable. And if you're okay with it, I'll share it in our show notes when we post this at slowflowerspodcast.com. You also had a tutorial, I guess, on flower photography, which I thought was really
because
useful.
what we found with the Open Food Network platform, and this has been ongoing improvement every year as well, we wanted the photos to invite clients to buy. And we didn't, especially with newer growers, we didn't want their photo to be a hindrance to that purchase. And we wanted an aesthetic look. It's not like a website so we wanted to do our best with making it beautiful, making the photos give as much information to the client as possible.
Sure. Yeah.
What a bunch looks like, what the color is. And so a couple of members were pretty good photographers and had some help to share. So we put that together. And this year, end of last year, the photos look great, I think. There's been an effort to improve. And it's also, we wanted to demystify how hard it is to take a good photo of flowers. It's not that hard. And so we were helping that way. And wouldn't you agree, Cara, that the quality is improved over the last 2 years like crazy?
Yes, it's been fantastic. As a client, I am now confident every time I click on a photo in that shop that it's going to tell me what I need. I haven't been led astray once. So that's a real relief as a client too.
Cara, that's a good point, because you're the one who hears from it with a florist. And so you're able to know that this what you see is what you get with these photos.
Yeah. And it's so important for them. It is a fast-paced shop when they're shopping. So that continuity that Lorna was speaking about in the photos is carried through in the information that we're posting. We're playing with grouping, for example, these last couple of weeks, grouping ranunculus by color, so that visually in the shop, your orange tones are together, your yellows, your pinks, your deep tones, and so on. It really just helps visually as a client to go.
You're merchandising. It's just online
Right.
instead of in person, right?
Precisely. Yeah.
Wow, this has been so much fun. I adore both of you. I love what you're doing at Island Flower Growers. I'm so grateful you're members of Slow Flowers, and we want to do what we can to support you and get the word out. So before we wrap up, what did I not ask you that you want to make sure we share? This is going out on YouTube, but we're also going to have the audio in the podcast with all of our show notes and all those links I discussed.
Well, we want to thank you as well. It was a very exciting day when you came to our market. It was fun.
That was
Superstore on site. Yeah, it was really fun. Hair and makeup. I think you've asked all the pertinent things. My advice, I guess, would be to use a consultant. Get a good bookkeeper early on. Members, don't try to do it yourself. If there's someone you can hire who knows how to do it, any moment that you're spending doing an Instagram post for the co-op means you're not out there looking at thrips on your roses and trying to figure out how to get rid of them.
Such good advice. You can't do it all. You really need the community. How about you, Cara?
Oh, I don't think there's anything I would add at all. This has been such a treat. Thank you, Deborah.
Oh, I've loved it. And for anybody who is heading to Victoria, be sure to check out the website of Island Flower Growers. You might just learn a little bit about what's growing in season. And, we probably have people coming to do destination weddings
Yeah,
from
we do.
off island, and they might be able to shop from you too, right?
They can, yeah.
Great. Okay. Thank you both so much. This has been really fun.
Thank you.
Well, that was great. I have a little video I'm going to share right now, and then we'll wrap it up. Hang on a sec. Here we go. Oh my gosh, that was just great memories. Even though it was just a month ago, I'm just still glowing in the beauty of visiting the Island Flower Growers. Thanks so much for joining me today. This was so inspiring to share about how this regional flower hub is changing the way florists and their consumers engage with sustainably grown seasonal flowers. You can watch this replay video of today's interview at slowflowerspodcast.com for episode 613 when it posts next Wednesday, June 7th. There, I'll also share some important Island Flower Growers resources that Lorna and Cara discussed, including the guide to island grown roses and a tutorial on photographing flowers for online posting. That was very generous of them to share these fabulous resources. And to learn more, you'll want to follow all the social places of the Island Flower Growers, which I'll share in our show notes. I want to take a moment to thank our sponsors and supporters who bring this show to you. This show is brought to you by slowflowers.com, the free online directory to more than 850 florists, shops, and studios who design with local, seasonal, and sustainable flowers, and to the farms that grow those blooms. It's the conscious choice for buying and sending flowers. And thank you to our lead sponsor, Farm Grow Flowers. Farm Grow Flowers delivers iconic burlap wrap bouquets and lush, abundant arrangements to customers across the U.S., supporting U.S. flower farms by purchasing more than $10 million of U.S. grown fresh and seasonal flowers and foliage annually. Discover more at farmgrowflowers.com. Thank you to the Gardener's Workshop, which offers a full curriculum of online education for flower farmers and farmer florists. Online education is more important than ever, and you'll want to check out the course offerings at thegardenersworkshop.com. Thank you to Details Flower Software, a platform specifically designed to help florists and designers do more and earn more. With an elegant and easy-to-use system, Details is here to improve profitability, productivity, and organization for for floral businesses of all shapes and sizes. You can grow your bottom line through professional proposals and confident pricing with details all in one platform. And all friends of the Slow Flower Show will receive a 7-day free trial of Details. You can learn more at detailsflowers.com. And thank you to Cal Flowers, the leading floral trade association in California, providing valuable transportation and other benefits to flower growers and the entire floral supply chain in California and 48 other states. The association is a leader in bringing fresh cut flowers to the U.S. market and in promoting the benefits of flowers to new generations of American consumers. You can learn more at cafgs.org. The Slow Flower Show is a member-supported endeavor, and I value our loyal members and supporters. If you're new to our weekly show or a long-running podcast, check out all of our resources at slowflowersociety.com. I'm Deborah Prinzing, host and producer of The Slow Flowers Show and The Slow Flowers Podcast. Next week, you're invited to join me in putting more slow flowers on the table, one stem, one vase at a time. The content and opinions expressed here are either mine alone or those of my guests alone, independent of any podcast sponsor or other person, company, or organization. Thanks so much for joining us today, and I'll see you next week.